I am now a senior software engineer in big tech, MIT, big companies including Microsoft, IBM, Amazon, Google, now Airbnb. But I got rejected from more companies than I can count over the years. And I think just knowing that everyone gets rejected and all you need is one offer and to push through is something that really helped my mindset.
In one of your LinkedIn posts, you talk about specifically how a man called you out because you're a woman, because you're pretty, that's why you can get the job. What do you have to say about that?
First of all, that man, we found out later, has 2 felony strangulation charges in the state of Oregon. People haven't ever said that to my face just because I feel like I have, on paper, pretty good resume. Like, I think my credentials speak for themselves. However, I understand that putting myself out there as a content creator, as a woman in tech, definitely I expect more backlash.
You left Google this year and decided to join Airbnb. What were some of the factors that you were considering when you made the jump?
I've been at Google for about 4.5 years. That was definitely a factor. I don't think there should be such thing as like a dream company, but if there were, for me, Google was definitely one of those as a new grad. I felt as though I had learned a lot at Google, but there were 3 major reasons why I left.
Welcome back to another episode of The Time I Left from a 9 to 5. Today's episode is a little different just because I'm in San Francisco and with my very good friends, Maddy Zhang. You probably know her from Instagram where she has, over 90,000 followers now. So she works in big tech and she actually is a little different from the guests from before where you didn't actually quit your job to start your own company, but you're still very impressive nonetheless. And I think we can all learn a lot from you. So today's episode, we're just going to ask Madeline, pick her brain on a bunch of different things. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey so far?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to see you and be here. Like Maggie mentioned, hi, my name is Maddy. I am now a senior software engineer in big tech. I'll tell you a bit about my journey. I graduated with my bachelor's in computer science from MIT with a concentration in game design way back in the day. During university, I interned at companies including IBM, Amazon, Microsoft, and Morgan Stanley. Then I worked for Google full-time where I was in first health search and then search ads. And yeah, finally switched to a different company around eight months ago.
Amazing. Okay, first question. So what's the bigger performance, Miss Teen, Chinatown stage, or Google technical interviews?
First of all, Claude has a great background check system because I don't think I posted that in years, if ever. Honestly, I was more nervous doing the Google technical challenge. I guess like for context, I did this beauty pageant when I was a teenager, long time ago. I feel like I was just like less self-conscious just because, I was like a kid, right? Kids do things. Definitely, I was so nervous when I went into the Google technical challenge because for context, when I was going for internships, I'd gotten rejected every single time from Google before the technical interview process. So the very first time I made it to the technical challenge was also my new grad internship. And I was super nervous because I've gotten rejected so many times. The first time I made it to the stage, how will I do? Yeah, but it worked out well, obviously, because I joined Google, but it was definitely very nerve-wracking.
Was Google your first, full-time job after MIT?
It was, yeah.
How many applications did you do before getting an offer from Google?
I think I applied to around 40 or 50 companies.
Okay.
I got some offers before Google, just like total throughout the application cycle. I did 40 to 50 that year.
Interesting. So how did you decide that you want to hold out on an offer or pass on an offer and wait for something better?
And to be honest, I had like continuously getting offers. So I kind of just, basically, if there's a company I'd rather work for compared to the previous company, I'd say no to the previous company, hold on to the offer, and then just continue that. I don't think there should be such thing as like a dream company, but if there were, for me, Google was definitely one of those as a new grad. So when I got Google, I was like, I'm pretty sure I want to work here, but I still did recruiting until the end. For context, my university made it so if you recruited there, you had to not give a deadline for an internship until December 1st, which meant that I was able to complete almost all of my internship interviews and get offer decisions before I needed to. I'm going to say yes or no.
So 5 internships in 2 years. Was that right? During school years?
Actually, that's 6 and 6.
Okay, 6 internships. Which company cafeteria had the best food?
Ironically, so none of those internships gave me consistent free meals, but the ones that were subsidized, I would say I liked Microsoft's the most. Microsoft didn't Microsoft in New England doesn't give you free food, like free meals. However, the team that I joined was a company before it got acquired by Microsoft, and apparently in their acquisition contract, they said you have to provide 2 to 3 meals, like free meals, for our workers if we go with you. So it was so funny. We're the only team that had this contract. So every like time we had meals, we'd suddenly get like, oh, like 30 new team members. You just like walk in from the other buildings and be like, hey, we work for you now.
Do they enforce that at all?
They don't.
No.
This is very chill. Honestly, I enjoyed it because it let me talk to a lot of people, not just at my team, but people who were not on my team as well, and like made me learn a lot as well.
Yeah. So you left Google this year in January and decided to join Airbnb. What were some of the factors that you were considering when you made the jump?
It's a great question. So I've been at Google for about 4.5 years. That was definitely a factor. I feel as though it's sometimes good if you decide that you want to try something different to like leave after 4 years or so, or maybe earlier. Some people leave earlier. There were three major reasons why I left. The first was primarily learning opportunity. I had already been on 2 teams at Google. I felt as though I had learned a lot at Google, and I'm very grateful for the time. But I just want to see what's out there, and I wanted to try something slightly smaller than Google. And Google's a very, very big company. That's the first reason, and new stack, new experience as well. The second reason was, to be honest, because of comp. Google has this thing called the 4-year cliff where your initial stock vests completely after 4 years. And then a lot of my friends started leaving, and I was like, oh, maybe this should be maybe they have a reason to. And the third is actually, I know it's not the best reason for leaving a company. It's my friends. Like when a lot of my friends left, um, I didn't leave for the longest time or even consider leaving for the longest time because even now, 95 of my friends are Googlers. Like I still hang out at the campus, like probably way too often for someone who left. But I've initially was afraid that if I left, I would lose that community and lose my friends. When when a lot of my friends left, I realized I was still hanging out with them even though they were no longer at Google. So I realized that if I left myself, I wouldn't be deprived of that community. And I think 8 months in, I'm still very close with a lot of my Google friends, and I think it was a good decision. But yeah, definitely really love my time at Google. Would not trade it for the world, but I think for me, in my current state of my career, it was the right place to be.
Yeah, I love that because I think, yeah, you can't really look at career in a vacuum. It's such a big part of your life. It's not only just about money, it's also your lifestyle,
Yeah.
your
Oh my
friends.
God. Like we're actually at a co-working space right now because I love the office environment. I can't get enough of it, and Airbnb is remote. So I went from going to the Google office every single day, even weekends for the gym, to not having a consistent office to go to. So then yeah, now I'm at a co-working space.
Did you think about that when you were leaving?
Oh yeah, for sure. Also, like I used to plan trips basically, oh, if there's a Google office there, I'll like go get food, go chill there. Yeah, so definitely the amenities are something I took for granted before I left, but it was something I considered.
So you've worked at two tech giants now for full time, and I was wondering, how do you define impact in your work, and has that definition evolved over time?
That's a great question. I guess ironically, impact is one of the metrics that Google uses to evaluate. So the Google definition of impact is like how many users use your product, like if you increase like latency, retention, click-through rates, and things like that. So my places at Google were search and search ads. They have very, very defined impact metrics. So I guess I would use those. I think at Airbnb it's a bit different because I we don't have like as defined metrics like that when it comes to when it comes to launching a product. For context, at Google I did many experiments and used metrics to sorry, I would do many experiments at the same time and then use metrics to decide like, oh, which branch are we pushing forward. Where I work at Airbnb, because it's a more back-end team, we don't really have those user metrics. We kind of just like go with generally like latency, I guess, and like things like that. So I guess like for me, impact shifted. The definition of impact shifted just because I went from a primarily user-facing team to a primarily back-end team.
Yeah. And for your, I guess, personal impact, like what gives you meaning at work or even beyond work, maybe through the content that you're doing, what what do you find meaning? Where do you find meaning?
Philosophical. I feel like for me, meaning is if I work on a product that I genuinely really like using. For context, like obviously I love Google search. I used to click on a lot of search ads. I still do. So I think that also is something as a user I like. So I wanted to kind of try to improve the experience. I love Airbnb. I have been to, I guess, 36 countries at this point, and most of them I booked Airbnbs. So for me, joining a company that has a product that I'm really passionate about and I use as a user, even if on a back end team, is very important.
Yeah, and I would love to talk about your content journey as well. So you started sharing on Instagram, Madeline dot
Madeline.m.zing.
yeah, Madeline dot Jen. Yes, she posts like really relatable meme and educational content all at the same time about like technical interviews, and just working in tech in general. So why did you start posting in the first place?
Yeah, so I actually just kind of got bored during the pandemic, and I think I shared a life update. I was like, oh, I'm working at Google. And then there's like one women in tech Instagram account that reached out to me and asked if I could be spotlighted. I was like, oh, sure. And then like after that, there's like a bunch of people who reached out and had questions. So I decided, oh, like maybe this is something that it might be helpful for people to see. And, like there's not that many women in tech. So I created this community kind of just as a way to express myself creativity. I created this community as a way to express myself creatively. I can't speak creatively. And also as a way to hopefully inspire other women to like continue in like math or STEM and have this like space.
Yeah. Speaking of women in tech, I know you've experienced a lot of backlash being women in tech and being like the face of your Instagram. I remember, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but like in one of your LinkedIn posts, you talk about specifically how people called you out, or like a man called you out on like, oh, because you're a woman, because you're pretty, that's why you can get the job. What do you have to say about that?
Oh, first of all, that man we found out later has 2 felony strangulation charges in the state of Oregon. So I, that already explains it. Yeah. But to be honest, like I think I've been pretty lucky in my day-to-day life, in my professional career, that people haven't ever said that to my face, just because I feel like I have a on paper pretty good resume, like MIT, big companies including Microsoft, IBM, Amazon, Google, now Airbnb. So I think my credentials speak for themselves that way. However, I understand that like putting myself out there as a content creator, as a woman in tech, definitely I expect more backlash, and I do get that occasionally. But I think the end of the day, it's like my content. If they don't like it, they don't like it. That's totally fine. I understand, like I feel like people are also mean toward male content creators as well. Just it's not just a necessarily a woman versus man versus other thing. It's kind of just content creators will get backlash, and I understand this totally fine. I think I have a pretty thick skin at this point. Also, I make a lot of memes. I think people generally don't hate memes. So, I also get a lot of positive feedback. So I think for me, just like having that positive feedback outweighs any of the random like hate comments I'll get time to time.
Yeah, I love the mindset that you're taking there, because well, if anybody out there wants to be a content creator, you just kind of have to, nobody prepares you for the amount of hate that you're going to get if one of your posts goes viral for some reason. It's like good and bad.
Yeah, it's good and bad. It's like most of my normal content, like it's all positive comments. Like if something like picks up an algorithm.
Then you attract all kinds of people. And I think something that really helped me in my process of processing it is just to think about, if somebody says your graying hair is ugly, but you don't actually have graying hair, then you'll be so easily brush it off, because it's like, what are you talking about? That's not me. Whereas if somebody says, I don't know, if like you're fat, but you're already kind of self-conscious about your body image, then you really take that in. So it's just think about like the comments from people, it's really about them and a reflection of them, and not really about you as a person. That's
Yeah.
something that has helped me. But okay. So today's job market is not the same as when we graduated per se. Even if you do everything right, even if you get internships during school, you might not get the dream job that you want in tech, in CS, in data. So as someone who is like experienced tech veteran now, what advice would you give somebody who is maybe throughout the school process and is very disheartened hearing about all the news and the tech? Yeah, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, that's a definitely tough question. I would say first and foremost, don't be afraid of rejection. I know like my resume seems like pretty straightforward and like nice, but I got rejected from more companies than I can count over the years. And I think just knowing that everyone gets rejected and all you need is one offer and to push through is something that really helped my mindset. When I was a freshman and sophomore in college, I used to be afraid to apply to jobs because I'd be afraid of the rejection. But I think now, I just like it doesn't matter. Like again, there's so many people, so many companies out there. You just need one to say yes. And I think I missed out on some opportunities as a freshman and sophomore because I was so afraid to apply. Something else I would say is like definitely try to build like personal projects to kind of build up your portfolio now more so than ever, with like vibe coding tools and with that, it like gets easier and easier to build projects. So I think having that in your resume can make you stand out and make it like it can really help a recruiter decide whether to give you an interview or not. And I guess finally also I would prepare earlier if possible. Something I have done in the past I don't recommend is I just cram pretty last minute for some of my recruiting cycles. It worked out well, but still, I would not recommend it. I think just, like, setting aside allocated times in your calendar for, algorithms prep, for practicing, like, star, responses to your behavioral questions, those can be very invaluable, and those, like, only, help you be a better interviewee time over time.
Thank you for that. And thank you for all the insights I've shared. Just to wrap things up, one last question.
Yeah.
What is next for you? Like, what do you wish to achieve in the future with your career and with your content? And how can people follow you, get in touch with you?
Yeah, I think for content, I don't really have any concrete goals. I think all I wanna do is continue, posting memes and educational content. If people wanna follow, they follow. For career, I definitely wanna try to continue rising up the ranks. I'm a senior software engineer now. Yeah, we'll see if I can get to the next level. For how to find me, you can find me madeline.m.zhang on Instagram, but I also post on TikTok with the same handle. I'm also on YouTube. I'll be posting a video with Maggie real soon, so stay tuned for that and follow me at Maddy Zhang on YouTube. Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.